The left has become, it seemed, rather enamoured with critical theory. I say it seems because I find it incredible that something as obviously silly as critical theory could gain academic respectability and flow out of our universities into the streets and into mainstream society. But it, of course, essentially holds that the world's evils result from white racism. The problem of the world is white racism. No one denies that white racism exists, but to say that it is the source of all evil, that, if you like, white men in particular are to blame for everything that's gone wrong, rather strikes me as immature in the face of what we're now looking at. You yourself have made the comment, I found this very interesting, racism by non-whites against whites not only exists in Britain, but might be even worse than the reverse. That would turn critical theory on its head if there were any evidence for it, Matt.
Well, I think that's true, actually. I mean, if you look at the survey evidence of, hostility, opposition to intergroup marriage, for example, it's often much higher among minority groups than it is among the white British majority. That's pretty clear. I think, as I say, we've got more evidence of intergroup tension and violence, minority on minority prejudice and violence in areas like Leicester, Birmingham, than we have evidence of white on minority violence. So, I mean, I think definitely, the evidence is there. I think the grooming gang the grooming gang scandal is another example of that. But look, I've been in the universities for 20 years, John, so it doesn't surprise me at all that these ideas became mainstream, because the university system itself is completely corrupt and has been hijacked by these ideologies. And to be honest with you, has been hijacked by mediocrity, is my view. I mean, I think we're drawing up a long shopping list of things that we need to do in terms of saving Britain and saving Western nations, but one of them would also be dramatically reforming the higher education sector, which has mainstreamed these ideas, allowed academic committees and departments to be basically hijacked, and also surrounded them with an enormous bureaucracy that was then incentivized to further spread these ideas, because the bureaucracy depended upon diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to justify its own existence. So, we need to take a hammer to that system, much like Donald Trump is doing in the US. We need to completely root that out. So it doesn't surprise me that these ideas became mainstream. But even if you point out the counterfactuals to the elite class, as I do regularly, they will still, at the end of the day, just ignore you. There is still a refusal to engage with empirical research and evidence which challenges the progressive worldview. For example, white working class boys are the worst performers at every level of the education system. Primary school, secondary school, undergraduate, MA, PhD, that is the group that is most visibly being left behind. White working class boys on pretty much every measure. Yet the elite conversation would have you believe, through Netflix dramas like Adolescence, that white working class boys are inherently problematic. They are evil. They are toxic. They are being pushed around by Andrew Tate and others, and they are reframed in the national conversation as being a problem. Whereas, in fact, if you look, for example, at knife crime in the UK, if Adolescence had been an empirically accurate drama, it wouldn't have been a white working class boy murdering a white girl in the school ground. These are narratives that I think make the elite class feel better about themselves. Like the only major BBC documentary we had on the rape gang scandal until recently was about a white girl who lied about being trafficked and assaulted by an Asian gang. That was an actual BBC documentary about the rape gangs. It was an inversion of the reality that here was a white girl lying about being groomed. So the media class, the creative class, I think also has a lot of responsibility, and a lot of questions to answer, to be honest, in how it portrays and represents, what is actually unfolding in our society.